Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another one of my literary analyses of comic books. I've started doing these a little ways back. People seem to like them. So far, we've done Cyberfrog Blood Honey. I revisited that early campaign, and I've done Monster Island by Graham Nolan. That's all so far in terms of these real literary analyses. These aren't reviews, so to speak. Reviews are more like, this is what's good about the book, this is what's bad about the book. I'm doing a literary analysis. You know, a ton of people do reviews. Reviews are a dime a dozen on the internet, and some are better and some are more valid than others, depending on the person and the depth that they go into the story and you know, their training and whatnot. But you know, I'm a literature professor, so I like to do literary analysis. Obviously, I'm only going to pick a book that I really enjoy and that I would recommend to do an analysis of. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing in the book that I would ever change or recommend. You know, it's a very different thing if someone were to bring a draft to me as a developmental editor and say, hey, what do you think? What would you be your feedback on this draft before it was published, as opposed to looking at something after it's published and then trying to do a literary analysis of it. So I'm doing the latter right here for you on the YouTube channel. And today I've got a real treat. We're going to look at Black and White, Volume 1 by the great Art Thibert, as well as Taylor Grosso. And of course, Art Thibert's wife is part of the editorial process there. This is a campaign that came out some years ago, and the reason I'm covering this Volume 1 is because Volume 2 is about to ship, and you can still get in on you can still pick up Volume 1 and Volume 2 from the Volume 2 campaign. I'll have the link down in the chat below, or the description below, for the campaign. It's still an in-demand store, so even though it's going to ship soon, last I checked, you still have time to get in there and claim a copy of both Volume 1 and the new Volume 2. So I'm very excited to look at Volume 2. But I'm going to be checking out Volume 1 here. Now, I'm not going to include the ash can that came with it. This is an ash can. This is one of the original stories that was actually released in 1994 on Image Comics. That's where Black and White originally ran. And he's brought it back now as part of his own Hack Studios publication. And it's going great. I'm very into the story, so I'm excited about it. This is a remastered story of what originally came out in the 90s, and it's been changed up a little bit. They've worked up the art, and it's been remastered, rewritten a little bit, and it's a great story. I think the way to break into it is to look at the cover. You look at this cover here, and I'll just throw it up there on the screen. We have the title Black and White, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be reading the art of the cover. This isn't an art analysis of like, you know, the how-to of the art or anything like that, or the vanishing points and all of that. I'm just reading the information that's on the cover, because covers really are more like standalone works of art if the artist knows what they're doing, if they really do try to put some good stuff into it. And I think that's what we have here on this cover. The specific cover I have, this is Art Thibert, colors by the great Kyle Ritter. So we have the title there, Black and White, and part of the logo there is the gun sights, the crosshairs. And in that crosshair, we have the yin yang, you know, the white and the black, you know, kind of serpentined onto each other. And this is a symbol of dualistic monism, you know, Asian religions and philosophies and whatnot. However you want to go about it, there are experts in that. But for the sake of this book, that's where the themes of this book start, is with that idea of yin and yang. These are not necessarily oppositional forces, but more complementary. In fact, in the usual traditional yin yang, you have a little circle of black within the white and a little circle of white within the black to show that they are complementary. There's a little piece of one in the other and so forth. So order, chaos, all of these things. Then lower on the cover, you have these two figures, our two heroes, one man in a black costume and a woman in a white costume. So here's our black and white. And if you notice the way they're standing, you can really draw a compositional circle around them. That's really the focal point of the cover. And in that, we have a mirrored idea of this yin and yang. The black is on the top and the white's on the bottom in this case. But we have there Reed, the character who goes by the codename Black, all in black. He's a very masculine form. He's got the typical masculine strength form, the broad shoulders taper in to the waist. He's both arms up, you know, his guns, so to speak, are up, holding literal guns, you know, manly weapons. He's got a wide stance to his legs. He's claiming space, a very masculine way of standing, and a lot of right angles in his composition there. And diagonally from him down, in the yin yang format there, we have Whitney, our codename White. She's quite different. She's a female form, obviously, very feminine. We have the hourglass, so the broadness is in the breasts and the hips, tapering in the waist. And as we said before, that's the signature feminine. That's what signals femininity, the accentuated breasts and hips, because babies are birthed at the hips and nursed at the breasts, and you can't get more iconically feminine than motherhood, even if it's not literal motherhood. So that's signifying the feminine. We also have her posing in a very different way, a very feminine way, right? There's more curves to her body. Where I said that Reed is more right angles, she's more curves, legs together. She's more ready to spring, ready to kind of be, sinuous there. And it's again showing a very different energy than the masculine. Her weapon are these sort of eskrima sticks like things, eskrima sticks. I always pronounce that wrong. They come together as a bow staff as well, but very different weapons than the more masculine guns that shoot out. These are something that you have to be a little more engaged with in your physicality of the body with. So wonderful image right there on the cover of these yin and yang forces. And that's the theme that we see in the book. Now, the setup of the story, the basic foundation of sort of the archetype of the story, imagine Batman and Robin crossed with the British Avengers, Emma Peel, the British Avengers there. That's kind of what you've got from the basis of the foundation of the story, the setup, but a lot of really cool original takes on it. But you do have Reed, a wealthy businessman. He's got his friend of his father's, the older man, sort of taking care of him by codename Gray. Brooks, I think his name is. And they're high tech, a lot of tech stuff. Reed used to be a member of MI10, ex-spy, so they've got high-tech suits. They've got all this high-tech gear. And Reed wants to take on a partner, protege in the extent that he has to train her a little bit. But this woman, Whitney, or White, is a codename White. So the sidekick aspect, but also a partner, an equal, even a love interest there as well. The book opens with a catchphrase for the story, and this is part of the videos for the campaigns as well. But it says, "In a world where law and order are often blurred to gray, justice can only be black and white." So we have a conflict there of government systems being unable to take care of business, so you need vigilante forces coming in here. However it ends up playing out, security forces or whatever. A world where law and order, supposed law and order, are often gray, blurred to gray. Justice can only be black and white. And that's really the theme of the book. Reed is all about justice. Now, Whitney so far is a little bit more leaning towards vengeance. There is a bit of conflict between the two of them. In fact, Gray has a great quote where he says that these two are like oil and water. He says, but could they work together? Could they complement each other? Reed's about order, whereas Whitney's about chaos. And Reed is the masculine form. He's the powerhouse, and yet he's about self-control, order, the plan, very Batman-like. Whereas Whitney is very, very talented and able to fight and whatnot, and she has all the power of the suit and so forth that he does, but she is reckless. So far anyway. We're going to see the story progress into part 2. But she's a little more reckless. She needs tempering. But even in the fight that we see them do in this book, you see the complementarity of it. She jumps ship of the plan and kind of, is more reckless, but in doing that, she pulls him along. And so they're able to be quite effective here. So we do see some complementarity happening already between the two of them. So yin and yang, black and white, justice versus vengeance, male and female, very male self-control, male intellect, male Apollonian, if you know the mythological words, whereas Whitney's more of the passionate emotions. And so that links the masculine self-control to the feminine passion. Even in their jobs, Reed is running an import-export business. That's very calculated, very Whitney's the heiress to a brewery family fortune, beer. There's a conflict in the story, especially with the villain. I don't know how it's fully contextualized yet without seeing part two, but it's something like the lower class versus the upper class. There wants to be he wants this revolution to take place and new power coming to be. You know, those who were previously downtrodden and so forth. So you have that conflict in there as well as robots versus humans. The villain uses robotics, and we'll see more of that play out and be explained in part two as well. So all of these dichotomies here, this yin and yang aspect. So really, you break into the story and what is it about? And I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but it really is about the need for balance, because Reed on his own can't really be effective in the way he wants to be. And Whitney on her own certainly can't be effective in the way she wants to be. So there's a need of a balance between their two forces. We do know that the two of these are going to come together. They are black and white. It's a partnership hero team or vigilante team, however you want to say it, ex-spy team or whatever. They're going to do the work together, and I'm very much looking forward to the further stories that we're going to have from these characters. But they need that balance. They need to work together for that to happen. It's set in China, so along with the yin yang culture, along with the political government sort of aspect to China and that culture going on there, that plays into these themes quite well. The villain likes to think of himself as the phoenix rising from the ashes, so we're playing on a lot of mythological elements here, visions and whatnot. This very much is half the story, and I I can't say but so much, and I can't really tie up all the themes together until I read that second half. So I'm very much looking forward to doing that. But I can definitely say these are the themes that part one is set up. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out further, because part one really did set it up. As I said, Gray says, why did he choose her? These two are like oil and water, but she truly is, the yin to his yang. He's order, she's chaos. Will they be able to work it out? And of course, they will. But once again, just that the answer that they're going to bring to the world around them and to the conflict around them and to the way to defeat this villain, to the way to bring peace and security to the world around them is you've got a world where law and order has been blurred to gray. There's no real justice in the world. And so justice needs to be black and white. And it's not so much, we think about black and white as cut and dry. And that's very true. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And you can't blur that to a gray area. That's very true. And that's what any good vigilante story is about. The government has become corrupt. So we need a vigilante to bring real justice where the government's powerless. That's part of that. Unless you've got sort of a vendetta vigilante. And that's what this book is really trying not to be. Whitney wants vengeance, but Reed is holding her in check. No, we are here for justice. And that's what we fight for. And you can see that going forward. So it's really great setup. I like the characters. I very much like Reed. Beautifully drawn. The character designs, the world around them. Art Thibert's great. He's a wonderful classic legend in comics. Marvel and DC. The last thing he did in DC, I think, before he really left the big two, was working on Super Sons Rebirth. When it was still great. So that's wonderful. And to see him, do his own things now. He's got Chrono Mechanics, which is another title that he's getting out there, but Black and White is really great. I first saw it and I didn't think it was going to appeal to me so much because I thought it would be more like spy something, but it's very much more superheroes. I mean, these suits that they have power them, they link them telepathically, and that's part of the ad campaign too, so I'm not really spoiling anything there. That link telepathically helps the two conflicting sides really mesh. They're able to anticipate each other's moves, and they need a little practice at it, but they will be able to work together. So really great blending. I'm excited to see more of this, and these are the themes laid out thus far. A lot of fun. I want to see if they tie up well and work out well in the end. So I go check out Black and White, but those are my thoughts on it in terms of literary analysis thus far. I've got more to come. I've got some of the bonus materials and whatnot around Wrecked Planet that I'm trying to fold in to a nice Wrecked Planet analysis. I'm still waiting on my copy of Thomas Valiant. I'll be doing that soon as well. And we'll be looking at some more from Compass Comics. So more to come in this series. Thanks for watching. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into these true blue hero stories.